for the memory of your parent, that you're saying the Kaddish. But like we said yesterday, I don't know if I said it yesterday, a different time, the greatest honor you bring to your parents, more than the Kaddish, is when you go ahead and you live according to the Torah. You live a life according to Torah. It's an everyday thing. Kaddish is something you say, person says first for a year, whatever. But what about everyday life? The whole day. How do you like that, David? It's not that you sanctify and I think Rabbi Fari said something yesterday about Kaddish, sanctification, bringing honor. You bring honor the whole time when you lead a proper life. When people keep Shabbat, they keep kosher, they send their kids. Torah? Like Gemilut Chasadim. All right, very good. So Torah is the study of Torah. So Avodah, some say it means service. So some say it means when you had the Beit HaMikdash, the Korbanot, and now the prayer. The prayer is, so these are the things that the world stands on. Shlosh Dvarim ha'olam omeid. The world stands on Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. We need the study of Torah, but that's not enough. We need people to pray. By praying to Hashem, our praise, that power of prayer. And also, it's not enough to learn. It's not enough to pray. But what are you doing for people? How are you doing chesed, right? How are you acting? How's your interpersonal? Are you caring, focusing on yourself, or are you focusing, helping others? Are you following the culture of the secular society about me first mentality? It's all about the me, the I. That's why the people growing up today and then a very and not the self-centered type of people. Many of the what'd you say? The we is gone. The we is gone. It's the they say it's the I generation, the iPad, the iMac, the I this, the iPhone. It's all about the I. That's how do you like that, David? Yeah, it's the Apple generation. Biting out of the apple of the Eitz Hadat. Some say the Eitz Hadat was the apple. So that's the generation that we're living in. So it's a more challenging generation, and every generation has its challenges, and we got to go ahead and meet the challenge. Okay. 49B. 49B. What did you say? 4? 49B4, good morning. Boker Tov. 49B4 on the first column. You have it, David, for Amar Abelazar, the second paragraph on the page. It's about 10 lines up in the English. Amar Abelazar. Kol ha'oser tzedakah u'mishpat. Anybody who does charity and justice, when you lead a life and you do charity, the act of charity and the act of justice, what does it do? Ki'ilu milei kol ha'olam kulo chesed. As if you filled the world. You did an act of charity right over here, down here in this world, in Lower Manhattan, or uptown Manhattan we are. If you go in and you do chesed, here we're talking about tzedakah. Tzedakah is a form of chesed. There's different types of kindness. As the Gemara says, sometimes you do kindness with your money, you give charity. Sometimes you give kindness with your body. You help somebody out, you help him with his packages, you help him, other ways you uplift his spirit, you talk to him, you raise his spirit. So if you go ahead and you do tzedakah, as if you filled the whole world with kindness, meaning the ramifications of your act is global. Because as the pasuk says, Oiv tzedakah mishpat, a person who loves tzedakah mishpat, that means a person who goes ahead and he acts that way. You love it, so you do what you love. You love ice cream, you eat the ice cream. You love tzedakah, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do it, you're going to perform it. So chesed Hashem mal haaretz. The kindness of Hashem fills the land. That means the whole land, the whole world is affected the same way we just said, David, before. If you say Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim keeps the world going. That means it's your acts of Torah, your acts of Chesed, your Avodah keeps the world going. That means it's global ramifications, right? That's what the Gemara is saying now. When you do acts of tzedakah, the world is going to benefit from the fact of your act of tzedakah, because it's going to bring bracha, it's going to bring blessing, kindness of Hashem to the whole world. Shema Toma, you might say, anybody who wants to do tzedakah and chesed, you want to give charity, Hashem is going to help you, and you're going to automatically find the right person to do the act of charity to. Kamaloma mayaka chastecha elokim. It's not. It's a precious thing to do the act of kindness in the most best fashion. That means sometimes, you want to give tzedakah, but who are you giving the tzedakah to? Are you getting the best bang for your buck? Are you getting if someone comes over to you and says, I need charity. Now, and let's say the person is not really fitting of charity. He doesn't really need it. He says he needs it. So it's not automatic that you're going to be connected. Automatically, the people that have come to your step and knock on your door are going to be people that are fit for the charity. But then sometimes there's a person that really needs the charity, and your charity is going to make or break whether someone could be able to have a wedding, right? Sometimes a person needs to make a wedding, and you came across somebody who knows the people personally, and you know that this is exactly the story. So then that it's not always easy to find. It's not automatic that you're going to find the right people to give your charity to. The same way you're in the business world, you take time and effort to make sure that your money that you use and you invest should be invested properly. It's not automatic that you're going to find the right people to give your charity to. If they're not worthy, you don't need to give them. If they're not worthy of charity, if you're not sure if they are worthy or not, then you could give them something, but you don't need to give them that large amount, in my humble opinion, if you're not sure if they really need it. But when you get the right people, this is no question, that they need it. So then that's where you're getting the best bang for your buck. And that's what you need to realize. It's not automatic, and you need to do your due diligence. And sometimes if they're not coming to you, you should look for people to give the tzedakah to. It's not only that, people come over to you and they ask you for money for tzedakah. But what about people don't come over to you? You should be rodef tzedakah. You're supposed to be running after trying. If a person is given, you have the abilities to give charity, you're supposed to figure out who should I give the charity to? Do your due diligence. And that's what the pasuk says. And then the Gemara says, Yochel af yirei shamayim kain. You might think someone who's a God-fearing person who's looking to give out charity, you might think he also will need to go ahead and also work hard to find the right people to give his charity to. Talmud Loma, the pasuk says, no. A God-fearing person, Hashem will make it easy for him to have the right people to give out the charity to. A person who's not on the level of being that level of God-fearing, he has to make more effort to make sure to find the right people. Talmud Loma, Chesed Hashem, me'olam v'ad olam al yireyav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does chesed for his people that are God-fearing to him, and he goes ahead and he gives them the right people. So therefore, that their chesed, that their kindness, that the righteous person gives a tzedakah to, will be a complete kindness because it was given to the right person. We're living in a time period. We have a lot of non-religious Jews, and who are they giving their money to? Metropolitan Museum of Art. That's where the money's going to, or the Harlem Boys Choir, not the Harlem Globetrotters. The Harlem Globetrotters is the basketball team. You heard of the Harlem Boys Choir? The Harlem Boys are an African American choir from Harlem. Who's supporting this African American choir? Whose money? Jewish money. So that all the universities, all Jewish money on the universities. But some of them thought they were doing a good thing, whatever it was. And what did they use it? And they're supporting. What are they supporting? They're supporting all these values that the university represents. So people need to realize getting the right people to give you charity to is not an automatic. Not everybody that asks for charity when the Metropolitan Museum of Art asks for charity, they're not worthy of your charity. And therefore, or whether it's the Metropolitan Art or whether it's other situation, you have to go ahead and put time and effort to make sure that you're giving your money's being given to the right people that will go ahead and benefit greatly from your charity, and that's a big thing for you. The big merit for you. I said yesterday, if you give charity to somebody and they fooled you. So at the end of the day, I would say the fact that you intended to do the mitzvah, you got the mitzvah. But the big dividend that you could get on it, meaning it was not the same. What do I mean to say? But I would think you give someone let's say you give someone who really needs that charity money. As a result of that, they were able to go ahead and pay their rent. They weren't evicted. As a result of that, they were able to bring up children a proper harmonious life. And as a result of that, they were able to be very productive, and therefore they brought up children that also continued and did great things. So you have a portion in all the great things that happen as a result of your charity. But I don't know if you got the wrong guy, and then so maybe God will give you credit for your intention and as if you did the charity, but all the other good things that happen as a result of the charity, I don't know that you'll get those benefits. There's nothing good happen as a result of that charity. David, you hear what I'm saying? So that's what we have to, the domino effect. You have to realize when you give charity, the domino effect of all the things that were affected by it, you get credit on. That's why someone's parents, when you go ahead and you say Kaddish, you do a mitzvah, it's only because of your parents that you're here in this world, and therefore they're going to get a kosher kickback on everything that you do. Ama Rami Yechoma Bar Papa, Kol Adam Sheyesh Alav Chen. Any person that has a certain grace, a certain charm, you ever hear say charming person, not charming in his beauty, in his physical beauty, but charming as a there's a certain charm, a certain grace about him. B'yidua shehu yireh shamayim. That is someone that he is a God-fearing person, because the pasuk says the chesed Hashem, the chesed of Hashem, which here the Gemara is translating the charm of Hashem, is me'olam vad olam, is forever and ever al yireyav, is on the person who is a God-fearing person. They translated there's a certain quality of goodness about him that the people that you see there's something unique quality of goodness about him that people find very favorable, very grace, a very charm. That's a sign of being God-fearing. Amar Rabbi Machama, and Rabbi Machama says, no, Amar Rabbi Elazar, my diksiv, Pia patcha b'chachma, its mouth is open with wisdom, v'torah chesed al lashona, and the Torah of kindness is on its tongue. This is the famous Eshet Chayil, which Friday night, many homes, in the Ashkenaz world, I don't know about the Sephardi world, do they sing Eshet Chayil Friday night? And if they don't sing it, you could sing it. You're allowed to sing it, right? But they sing the Eshet Chayil Friday night, which was a amazing chapter that Shlomo HaMelech wrote. Some say it's in honor of his mother, Eshet Chayil Miyimsa. He was given honor to his mother. Some say he was describing the Torah and in the form of a woman. And here we have a pasuk. He says there was a Torah chesed. Her mouth open with wisdom. And there was a Torah of chesed, a Torah of kindness on her tongue. Torah shel chesed, the whole Torah is about chesed. Torah is, what does it mean, a Torah that's not chesed? What does it mean, a Torah chesed? Ella Torah lishma. When you learn Torah for the sake of study of Torah, not that you're learning Torah because you want to get honor, you want to get paid for it, so some ulterior motive. If you're learning Torah for the sake of Torah, zu Torah shel chesed. That is a Torah shel chesed, because the kindness is when you do kindness means I'm not looking for a payback. I'm doing a kindness. So when you're going ahead and you are studying Torah for the sake of Torah, that's like an act of chesed. However, shalul lishma, when you're learning Torah not for the sake of Torah itself, you're learning Torah for the sake of ulterior motives. Now, even though it's not the best reason to learn Torah, we don't say not to do it for that way, because we have a statement. Better learn shalol lishma. It's good to learn shalol lishma, but when you learn shalol lishma, eventually you'll learn lishma. You take teenagers, take children, give them an incentive. You go in and you learn, we'll give you a good prize. We'll give you something. Now, why should you give prizes? He's learning for the prize. The answer is because today he's learning for the prize. Tomorrow he'll learn for the sake of learning. So therefore, so give that incentive to people to learn, and that will go ahead. Eventually, they'll learn for the right reasons. But obviously, the highest Torah study is just for the sake of Torah itself. So that's Torah zu shalol lishma, zu Torah she'ino shel chesed. That's not a Torah of chesed. The way some commentaries explain, the Maharsha says that if you learn lishma, if you learn Torah for the sake of Torah itself, Hashem gives you kindness. He gives you a certain grace. He gives you a certain favor. People find you favorable. So that's the Torah lishma. That's called Torah of chesed. But when you learn not for the right reasons, you're not going to get that chesed. That's why it's not called the Torah chesed. So that's now this past week's parasha, we had the holidays. It had mentioned all the 5 holidays of the Torah. Mentioned Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shavuot, Pesach, and Shavuot. And in the middle, right after it mentions Rosh Hashanah. Sorry, it starts with Pesach. After Pesach, it went to Shavuot. Then it interrupted by telling you the mitzvah of leaving the corner of your field for the poor people. It spoke about giving to the poor, and then it continued with the holidays of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. So the question is, what happened if you're? The Torah says, I'm going to tell you the holidays. Here are the holidays. And you start telling me the holidays, and then you go off on a tangent. You start talking about giving to the poor, and then you come back to the holidays. What happened that in the middle, David, you have the question. Is the question clear? Why in the middle do you start sidetracking to giving to the poor? So I heard from Rabbi David Feinstein, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein's elder son, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, he said, because once you mention Shavuot is the day the Torah was given. The Torah wants to connect Torah with Chesed, because Torah needs to be a Torah of Chesed. Torah can't be a Torah that I'm focusing on myself, and therefore, when the Torah mentions Shavuot and it talks about the holiday of Shavuot, the day the Torah was given, it connects it directly with the mitzvah of giving to the poor. If you're a person who learns Torah and you do not thinking about the other person, you're not learning right. It's not the right way to learn. It has to be a Torah of chesed and of kindness, and therefore the Torah connects it to the mitzvah of giving to the poor, and then it continues. So therefore, it's not a tangent. It's not an independent idea of giving to the poor and the mitzvah and the holiday of Shavuot. It's exactly what the holiday of Shavuot is supposed to bring to you. It's supposed to bring a person to a type of person. Torah is supposed to bring you to be a Torah of Chesed. If you read biographies of great rabbis, what do the biographies talk about? They just talk about the study of the Torah of the great rabbi. That's not the only thing they talk about. Most of the biographies talk about all the acts of kindness of the rabbi, because the rabbi you read a book about Rav Moshe Feinstein, that's what you'll be reading about. You'll be reading about all those acts of kindness, because that's what the Torah. The more Torah you have, you're supposed to become more of a person of kindness. Iked Amri. Others say Torah lelamda. If you learn Torah because you're learning Torah, pia patcha bechachma, it's open bechachma v'torat chesed al lashona. Its Torah of kindness is on its tongue. Its tongue is being used to teach Torah to other people. That's what you're learning. Are you learning just for yourself, to learn for yourself? I want to know Torah, or you're learning with the intention to help other people, to teach other people. That's what I say about the Kollel. All the people that are learning in Kollel, but they're studying the Torah and the Kollel, and then one day they could take that knowledge and teach other people. Go out, like I remember Rabbi Eli Mansour said from Brooklyn, if a person, when they go ahead and they go to Kollel for a number of years. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. We say better late than never. You know that. That's our motto. No problem. And of course, the neshama of your father, Yaakov ben Azira, should have a Eli neshama.
Yaakov ben Nazira. Thank you.
Yes. And we'll dedicate the class in his memory. And
Thank you.
so that's Rabbi Eli Mansour said, when the person goes to the Kollel, the years that he puts in the Kollel, he's going to become a Talmid Chacham. And then when he goes out to teach, he'll have what to say. When people go out to teach and they don't have the years under their belt of Torah study, the level of, where are they at? What kind of level of learning, what kind of level does that rabbi have if he didn't spend years in the Beit Midrash, in the Kollel? How much does he know to teach? So if you have rabbis that don't, who's the greater rabbi? The one who spent more time in the Kollel, and then now he goes out, and now he spent so many years in training, and therefore he has what to, just like people understand. The guy did a master's degree, a PhD. Rabbis, technically rabbis in Kollel, they have enough, if the more years you have, got enough degrees, rabbinic 1, rabbinic 2, rabbinic 3, that you can be called PhD in some states. But they don't, in New York, they don't give you a PhD for it. But I had a friend of mine, someone who went in the Kollel of the yeshiva. He went from the Beit Midrash to Harvard Law School. He did his undergrad in the yeshiva because the yeshiva was accredited, and therefore he went straight to Harvard Law School. That's where he got his undergrad. But our law school it's not Harvard. We have our law school is the Beit Midrash. Okay, so that's what the Gemara says. If you learn with the intention of lamda to teach, zu Torah shel Chesed, then it's a Torah of Chesed. Morning, Nathan. That's the Torah of kindness if you're learning for that purpose. And Shalom lamda, if a person learns Torah, not with the intention of teaching others, they just think learning Torah because I want to learn Torah for myself. I want to be a knowledgeable Jew in Torah. That's Torah, but it's not a Torah of Chesed. And it's a higher level to learn not just for yourself, but you're learning to teach others. That's the Torah She'ein Shel Chesed. Okay, we are now moving to Nun Amud Aleph 58 because we had gone ahead and then we went back for the yesterday's class. We are now on 50A in the art scroll. Let's see what page, what are we on? In the art scroll, let's see if it's number 1 or 2. Let's see where it's at. It's number 2. Art scroll 50A2. The top of the page. Nishpacha ones galta. The Mishnah stated that they prepared the water for the mayim, for the mayim shuvim, for the nisach hamayim that they poured on the mizbeach on the holiday of Sukkot. There was a special mitzvah that every day to take a certain amount of water and pour on the mizbeach. And the purpose, we said, was, one idea is, because on the holiday of Sukkot, the world is judged for mayim, how much water is going to be in the world. And being that's the case, so Hashem gave us mitzvot to help us that we should have a good judgment. So Hashem says, you go ahead and you pour the water on the mizbeach, you do a mitzvah with water, I will bless your water. That's one idea of the mitzvah. On Friday, so what they did was every day they withdrew the water, but on Friday and Shabbat, you couldn't draw the water on Shabbat because they drew the water from outside Yerushalayim. It will be an issue of carrying outside Yerushalayim to Yerushalayim. So what they did was they drew the water on Friday afternoon. And then they used that water that they drew on Friday afternoon and they used the Shabbat morning to pour on the Mizbeach. The Gemara says, but if what happens if it's supposed to be covered, the water that you would draw the water and you leave it in the area of the Beit HaMikdash, it needs to be covered. What happens if it gets uncovered? So the Mishnah stated, if it's uncovered, it's no good. You can't go ahead and use that water. You got to use different water. Then they would use the water from the kior. They would use different water. But they had to use, there was a problem if the water gets uncovered. We're familiar a little bit with that idea today, that if water was uncovered overnight, generally people will not use that water. The reason why they wouldn't use that water, because maybe a snake would drink from that water and then put his venom in that water and you won't notice it, and that could be deadly. So that's why water that was overnight, why people don't drink the water that was stayed overnight. Today's day and age, you live in areas that there's no snakes, but many people still keep that even though the reason might not apply. That's something that we have to look up in the halacha, different poskim, what they say about that. But getting back to regarding our Mishnah, the Gemara understands that the problem is because of the venom. The Gemara says, so what's the problem? Why can't you use some sort of sieve, a strainer? You use a strainer, and that will remove the venom, and therefore, and then you will get rid of the venom. That's the Gemara's question. What does Nathan have to say? Why not?
The venom liquid is the water, and
So the Gemara. So the
may not take it out.
The Gemara says it floats. The venom floats. We'll see how the Gemara is going to describe the venom.
So then you can take it off the top, but then you have to be able to see it. It floats, you have to be able to see it.
So let's see how the Gemara will describe. We'll get a description of the venom in a minute. Why can't you use a strainer? So the Gemara says, let us say that our Mishnah is not in sync with the opinion of Rav Nechemia. What did Rav Nechemia say? So Rav Nechemia said, let's see, 1 second. The Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Misanenet, this is a type of, it's a type of strainer that they had, that this was a certain device. If you look at number 9, the device had 2 receptacles, one on top of the other with a filter in between. Okay? So let's say they would put spices in the upper receptacle, and they would also pour wine and pour wine through it, and the wine would take some of the flavor of the spices, and the wine would go through, and the spices would remain on top. So that the wine would absorb the taste and the spice, and that would go through the filter, and the spices would remain on top. So the Gemara said, the time you learned in the Braita, misanenet yesh bo mishum gilui. Misanenet, if you use this device, the strainer that had a top and a receptacle on top and the bottom and the filter, there's a problem, because if, let's say, it would take time for the wine to go down through the strainer. So maybe during that time, if you left it in the strainer, maybe a snake would come in. If you weren't watching it, the snake would come in and deposit its venom into the wine, and therefore it would be a problem. So what did Rav Nechemia say? Nechemia said, yeah, that depends. Amar Nechemia says that the problem of the venom the venom, if you leave it uncovered, it's only that's only if the bottom receptacle is, if you leave the bottom one open, revealed, so then the snake could, let's say there's a space, here's the bottom receptacle, and it received the wine, and you didn't cover it. It's not covered. There's no cover that goes through it. So therefore, the problem is the snake might come into the bottom one. But if the bottom one is covered, there's no problem. Because even if the top one, the snake went into the top receptacle, but the strainer held it on top, and the bottom one, and the venom did not go into the bottom one. So he says, but once the top one is covered, if the bottom one is covered, even though the top container that the wine went through is open, there's no problem of gilui. There's no problem that it's uncovered, the top one, because it's similar to a sponge. The Gemara says here, it says it floats on the surface of the wine and it remains in its place. And therefore, it is easily removed by the filter. So the Gemara says, since it's easily removed by the filter, so you could go ahead and use the filter to go ahead over there. It would work. You don't have to worry about the venom of the snake if the bottom receptacle is covered. So the top receptacle, even if it's open, you don't have to worry about the venom of the snake, because the strainer will stop it from going down. So, and yet our Mishnah says that we are worried. The Mishnah is worried about the venom. Why are we worried about the venom going into the water if we could just go ahead and use a strainer to go ahead and, according to Nechemia, a strainer works. If a strainer is good enough, so we should use the strainer here as well. And the fact that we don't use the strainer here as well is we don't say that that's good enough, right? So the Gemara says what Mark said the other day. Mark said, what do you mean? It's not nice to bring that on the Mizbeach, even on the altar, even if, let's say, we can maybe agree with Rabbi, maybe we could say we'll get the venom out, but still, if venom might have been there, and you're bringing on the Mizbeach, on altar, something that might have had venom, that's not respectful. You can't, that's why the Mishnah says, if it became uncovered, you can't use it. Even if you're going to say, what do you mean? Maybe I can remove the venom. But that's not a nice thing to bring something on the altar that maybe there was venom in the item. That's what the Gemara says. When does Rav Nechemia say his ruling is lehedyo? For an individual, if an individual wants to go ahead and use wine that was exposed, that maybe a snake got into, as long as you use the strainer, you're good. However, of a legvoa to Hashem, as something that's used in the service of Hashem, mi amah. Did you ever hear Rav Nechemia go on record that you could strain something and then use it on the altar? Did he ever go on record that says you could strain water and go on the altar, or strain wine that might have had venom in it? Mi leslei, v'ledli Rav Nechemia, he doesn't hold of a very famous pasuk. The famous pasuk says in Malachi, when the prophet was giving Musa, rebuke to the Jewish people when they were bringing offerings from things that were not, from animals that had blemishes, like this week's parasha spoke about. You want a korban to be accepted, you have to bring from not animals that have blemishes. As it says, would you bring this, would you want to bring to a statesman, a nobleman, a king, would you bring this to a king? Would you bring this blemished item as a gift to your king? And that's what you bring to God? That's how you give God. God gets the inferior quality. So, would that king be happy with you? That's what Hashem is saying. So therefore, the Gemara says that's the same thing over here. When you bring something to the Mizbeach, the altar, you have to make sure it's nice, presentable. And therefore, that's why we cannot use a strainer to strain the water that was uncovered that needs to be poured on the Mizbeach. I want to wish everyone a Mazel Tov. We finished the 4th parak, and we'll be starting the next parak tomorrow. Bez Hashem. Yes. Looking forward, everybody. Have a great day. It's like when you buy an etrog, you buy an etrog that looks the worst as long as it's kosher. You buy a nice one, something nice, with respect. Right.